Tonight, on First at 9 this Sunday the 29th of June 2025. The ruthless ocean. 4 fishing-related accidents reported across the island, resulting in 5 confirmed fatalities, 6 injuries and 2 fishermen still missing. Indian influence. The Frontline Socialist Party vows legal action against the sale of Colombo Dockyard PLC to an Indian state-owned enterprise specializing in the production of warships. Meanwhile, Minister of Fisheries raises concern over the irreparable damage caused by Indian poachers in Sri Lanka's territorial waters. Sickles to the streets. Farmers across Anuradhapura and Polonnaruwa outraged over the government's decision to import 40,000 metric tons of rice as substitutes for local crops. The special sitting. A special sitting of Parliament scheduled to take place tomorrow. Government statement of revenue strategy anticipated to be tabled.
Cinec Campus Open Day. මේ මාස 3 වෙනි දින උදෑසන 9 සිට Cinec Campus පරිශ්‍රයේදී.
Enrolling now for the June 2025 intake and complete your degree in 2 years.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Adrisinghe joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world, brought to you by the only Sri Lankan media network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms, recognized as the best by every survey and beloved by the people. Now, in your top story tonight, a grim chapter in Sri Lanka's coastal waters continues to unfold as the 4th fishing vessel accident in just 48 hours was reported off the coast of the Paravivalla in Thangol. The latest tragedy claimed the life of 1 fisherman while another continues to remain unaccounted for. With this incident, the toll from a string of maritime mishaps now stands at 5 confirmed deaths, while 2 remain missing.
The fishing vessel Maxime Puta 1, which departed from the Paravivalla beach in Thangol last night with 6 fishermen aboard, struck a submerged rock near Thangol and was reported in distress. While 4 of the fishermen were rescued and admitted to the Thangol base hospital promptly, 2 others of the ages of 39 and 49 years were reported missing. A search operation was later launched by the Sri Lanka Air Force using a KA-350 Beechcraft aircraft. With the assistance of nearby vessels, Maxime Puta 1 was towed closer to the Thangol Fisheries Harbour by this afternoon. During inspection, divers noticed a hand trapped inside the vessel's cabin. After several hours of rescue efforts, a deceased individual was recovered from the vessel's cabin at approximately 4:30 p.m. Authorities have confirmed that 1 fisherman from the incident still remains missing. In a separate incident near the Hikkaduwa fishing zone, a multi-day fishing vessel capsized around 6 p.m. yesterday after being struck by strong waves near an estuary. All 6 crew members were able to swim ashore safely. The capsized vessel was subsequently swept towards the shore and collided with rocks. Meanwhile, search operations continue to locate a 39-year-old individual who served as the skipper of Dinesh 4, which collided with a commercial vessel about 7 nautical miles off the Galle Fisheries Harbour. The remains of 2 deceased fishermen from the accident have been handed over to their families following post-mortem examinations. In yet another similar incident, a dinghy capsized off the coast of Moragalla in Beruwal yesterday morning. The remains of 1 fisherman was recovered during the initial search, while the second was later found washed ashore at Benthara beach. In total, the past 48 hours have seen 4 fishing-related accidents across Thangol, Hikkaduwa, Galle and Beruwala, resulting in 5 confirmed fatalities, 6 injuries and 2 fishermen still missing.
Considering the surge in fishing-related accidents, a committee has been appointed comprising officers of the Sri Lanka Navy, the Naval Headquarters, the Sri Lanka Army as well as the Sri Lanka Air Force, presided over by the Director General of the Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. This committee will oversee these matters. The committee will also point out if there are any shortcomings on the part of the Fisheries Ministry or if there are any errors made by the relevant technicians. Additionally, the committee will outline the necessary solutions which must be taken in this regard. Some had previously highlighted the necessity of wearing life jackets to ensure safety. The officials of the ministry are currently holding discussions to provide some relief measures in that context. We will implement all these measures once the committee report is obtained. Discussions are also underway to provide relief to the families of the deceased fishermen.
චන්දුරුසුනේ කාගෙත් මන අපේ සිංහ TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
යාඩියා ලොව වැඩියෙන්ම අලෙවි වන ඉලෙක්ට්‍රික් ස්කූටරය අවාන්ස් ඔටෝ වෙතින්.
Now, rainy conditions and strong winds are expected in several areas of the country tomorrow. The general public is requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. Several spells of showers will occur in the western, Sabaragamu and northwestern provinces and in the Nuwara, Kandy, Galle and Matra districts. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in the Uva and in the Uva province and in the Ampara and Batticaloa districts during the afternoon or night. Fairly strong winds of about 30 to 40 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over the western slopes of the Central Hills and in the northern, north central and northwestern provinces and in Trincomalee and Hambantota districts. Rough seas are expected from Chilao to Kankasanture and Matara to Pothuil. Fairly rough conditions are also expected from Chilao to Matara and Kankasanture to Trincomalee. The Met Department also reveals that waves may rise up to 2.5 meters. Considering the recent spate of maritime disasters, particularly involving fishing vessels, caution is advised for all naval and fishing communities. Now, meanwhile, Minister of Fisheries, Aquatic and Ocean Resources Ramalingam Chandrasekhar raised concern over the irreparable damage caused by Indian fishing trawlers poaching in Sri Lanka's territorial waters, threatening the livelihoods of over 30% of local northerners who rely on the fishing industry. Addressing the media, the minister asserts that the threat of desertification looms over Sri Lanka's marine resources if the current destruction is allowed to proceed.
These Indian fishing trawlers that encroach our territorial waters are completely destroying our marine resources. More than 30% of the population in the country's northern province rely on the fishing industry. These Indian fishermen threaten the lives of those people. The poachers in question are primarily from Tamil Nadu, India. Whenever these issues arise, Indian politicians often weaponize the Kachithu Island dispute to further their election targets. They argue that it was wrong to hand over the Kachithu Island to Sri Lanka and claim they plan to reclaim it. Such statements are made to appease the respective voter demographic. Unfortunately, the Indian Minister of External Affairs recently brought up the same issue. These poachers don't stop after decimating our fishing industry. They proceed to completely annihilate all of our marine resources. If we allow this destruction to proceed, we will not be able to stop Sri Lanka's ocean from transforming into a desert.
සිනෙක් කැම්පස් ඕපන් ඩේ මැයි මස 3 වැනි දින උදෑසන 9 සිට සිනෙක් කැම්පස් පරිශ්‍රයේදී.
Apico Next Gen. Make the leap to faster sleep.
Now, the Frontline Socialist Party announced its intention to pursue legal action against the agreement facilitating the transfer of a 51% stake in Colombo Dockyard PLC to an Indian state-owned enterprise specializing in warship production. Addressing the media, the party's Education Secretary Pubudu Jagoda asserts that the shares will be sold at a price significantly below the actual market value of the company's assets.
Yesterday, India's Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders Limited announced the decision to purchase a 51% controlling stake in Sri Lanka's Colombo Dockyard PLC for $52.96 million. In a statement, the company revealed that this transaction will close within 6 months, after which the Sri Lankan shipbuilder will become a part of Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders. Meanwhile, commenting on the relevant acquisition, Education Secretary of the Frontline Socialist Party, Pubudu Jagoda, pledged legal action to have the transaction annulled.
Colombo Dockyard Samagame.
A contract for the sale of a controlling stake in Colombo Dockyard PLC was signed yesterday with Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders. The purchase was approved at a price less than $5 million. The government claims that a $50 million investment will follow this deal. However, the assets of the company agreed to be sold alone is worth over $130 million US. Furthermore, this deal includes the transfer of a strategically valuable plot of land spanning about 25 acres. If we break down the numbers and substitute the deal into a 5-year lease agreement, the corresponding lease installment works out to a meager sum of around $200 US per perch. Furthermore, the entire process through which the deal was signed is very alarming. To the best of our knowledge, the transaction has not received formal approval from the board of directors of the Colombo dockyard. This transaction also raises several geopolitical concerns since India's Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders Limited is a state-owned company which manufactures warships and submarines for the Indian Navy. If we allow them to start manufacturing warships in close proximity to the Colombo port, Sri Lanka could be plunged into the crossfires of regional tensions since we will not be able to prevent the manufacturing of warships. This is a blatant betrayal of public trust. We intend to initiate legal action to have this acquisition annulled.
In the meantime, Deputy Minister of Youth Affairs Aranga Gunasekara commented on this transaction.
We are not so closely linked or allied with any foreign country. The government is implementing a lot of efforts. However, none of those efforts will be contrary to public interest. Every decision taken thus far has been a result of thorough deliberation and conducted with the utmost transparency.
Sri Lanka Customs notes that the congestion and delays reported in the clearance of imported containers at the Colombo harbour have now been resolved. Customs spokesperson and Additional Director General Sivali Aruguda claims that the sudden congestion reported at the Colombo port was caused by significant increase of imported containers arriving at the port. Aruguda confirmed that all of the containers scheduled for release from the Colombo harbour have been cleared by this morning, and further notes that the Customs plans to carry the procedure forward into the future. Now in other local news, farmers across Anuradhapura and Polonnaruwa districts have initiated protests against the government's decision to import 40,000 metric tons of rice as substitutes for the locally grown Kiri Samba rice variety. The protesting farmers argued that the move is unfair and undermines local agriculture, especially when the government has failed to address the critical challenges faced by paddy farmers. According to the farmers, the Yalla season cultivation is already showing signs of poor yields. One major reason is the untimely release of water for Yalla cultivation, which occurred less than a month after the Maha season harvest wrapped up. The government's failure to supply fertilizer on time also forced many farmers to rely on market alternatives, which they claim are not only expensive but also of questionable quality. Despite this, farmers in some areas have already begun harvesting crops planted in the Yalla season, but many say they are not receiving a fair price for the paddy harvested. These developments have heightened their frustration over the government's decision to import rice. Now in other local news, a special sitting of Parliament is scheduled to take place tomorrow. According to a Gazette Extraordinary issued by the Speaker of Parliament, Dr. Jagat Vikramaratne, the special sitting is to be convened by the Speaker in pursuance of Standing Order 16 of the Standing Orders of Parliament at the request of the Prime Minister. The sitting is scheduled in line with the requirement for government to make a statement of revenue strategy consistent with the fiscal strategy statement as specified under Section 11 of the State Finance Management Act No. 44 of 2024. Upon obtaining approval of the Cabinet of Ministers under subsection 2, the fiscal strategy statement should be announced by the Minister of Finance at Parliament on or before the 13th day of June of each year. Accordingly, under the Standing Order No. 16 of Parliament, the Speaker has called for a special Parliament sitting while an adjournment debate related to the government statement will be held at 4:30 p.m. tomorrow. Now, 2 luxury vehicles worth over 30 million rupees, which are suspected to be illegally imported, were seized by the Valana Anti-Corruption Unit. According to the Bandaragama police, both vehicles had been illegally imported into the country by a former minister and were kept in the custody of a close associate of the same former minister.
Based on a tip-off, the Valana Anti-Corruption Unit inspected a van hidden away on a property in Vidagama Bandaragama yesterday. After confiscating the van, the unit was later informed of another van registered under the same registration number as the one already seized located in Millenia Horana. Subsequent investigations revealed that the second van was a legitimately registered vehicle. During the raid, officers of the Valana Anti-Corruption Unit also discovered an SUV allegedly used by a resident of Vidagama Bandaragama parked at a vehicle cleaning facility on Siriraja Mawatha, Vidagama. Preliminary investigations revealed that the SUV's registration number had been altered and subsequently entered into the Department of Motor Traffic's database. Bandaragama police further revealed that the seized vehicles belonged to a former minister of the Kalutara district who had allegedly imported them into the country. Police also revealed that the vehicles were kept by a close associate of the former minister and vowed to probe the matter further.
Now in your power and energy related updates, the Ceylon Electricity Board states that Sri Lanka has reached 70% renewable energy generation during June 2025. Issuing a statement, the CEB notes that for the first time since the early 1990s, Sri Lanka has come full circle in its energy journey. CEB achieved an average of 70% electricity generation from renewable sources during June 2025, having higher demand than in other months. This milestone marks a significant turnaround from the country's earlier reliance on nearly 100% hydropower before transitioning to a mixed hydrothermal system in subsequent decade and reflects CEB's steady efforts to restore renewable energy dominance in the national grid. Welcome back. Now moving on to your business news this evening. Sri Lanka has welcomed 1,146,272 tourists from the 1st of January until the 26th of June this year, chipping away at the island nation's ambitious target of 3 million tourist arrivals in 2025. According to the latest figures from the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, 116,469 tourist arrivals were recorded between the 1st and the 26th of June. India continues to be Sri Lanka's top source market with 32,977 Indian tourists visiting Sri Lanka, while the United Kingdom trails in behind with 9,429 tourists visiting the country. A significant number of tourist arrivals were also reported from China, Pakistan, Australia and Bangladesh. Now in some international business news, the Group of 7 nations state that they have agreed to exempt US multinational companies from a global minimum tax imposed by other countries, which is considered to be a win for the Trump administration. The group has created a side-by-side system in response to the US administration agreeing to scrap the Section 899 retaliatory tax proposal from President Donald Trump's tax and spending bill.
In a statement, the Group of 7 Nations, also known as the G7, stated that the United States and the Group of 7 Nations have agreed to support a proposal that would exempt US companies from some components of an existing global agreement. In the statement, Canada, which serves as the head of the rolling G7 presidency, noted that the group has created a side-by-side system in response to the US administration agreeing to scrap Section 899. Retaliatory tax proposal from President Donald Trump's tax and spending bill. The Intergovernmental Political Economic Forum stated that the plan recognizes existing U.S. minimum tax laws and aims to bring more stability to the international tax system. The U.S. Treasury Department said that following the removal of Section 899 from the U.S. Senate version of the tax and spending bill, there is a shared understanding that a side-by-side system could preserve important gains made by jurisdictions inside the inclusive framework in tackling base erosion and profit shifting. Businesses from the United Kingdom are also spared higher taxes after the removal of Section 899 from President Donald Trump's tax and spending bill.
That's all for tonight from First at 9. For the latest developments around the clock, stay in touch with Ada Derana, Sri Lanka's news brand of international excellence. Thank you for joining. Have a great night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit adaderana.lk.